My job was simple, on paper. Take care of a 5-year-old boy named Haru, full-time, private estate, discreet employer. The agency told me he was rich. They didn't say how rich or who he really was. They just gave me the address, the rules, and a contract that paid more than I'd ever made in my life. Makoto Ayanami, Haru's father. I didn't see him much. He left early and returned late, always in a suit, always silent. Haru said he worked a lot. I didn't pry. It wasn't my business.
Don't go into the East Wing. Don't speak to Mr. Ayanami unless spoken to. Don't ask questions.
Haru was sweet, smart, a little too grown up for his age. He clung to me quickly, always holding my hand or sitting close during story time. Sometimes he'd look up at me and say things like,
"You should be my mom."
I'd smile, but it always made my chest hurt. I didn't want to break Haru's heart. He was just a kid, full of hope. But deep down, I knew the truth. I smiled because I didn't have the heart to tell him that someone like his father would never end up with someone like me, not in a million years. After my shift ended that day, I walked back to my apartment, exhausted. All I could think about was taking a long, hot shower, cooking something warm with whatever scraps I had left in the kitchen, since I couldn't afford takeout, and collapsing on the couch with a blanket, a rare moment to breathe. Instead, I found an envelope taped to my door. Eviction. My heart dropped. I opened the door slowly. Half of my things were already in the hallway. The landlord wasn't even subtle about it. I stepped inside, heart pounding. The rent money, I had it. I'd saved it. But last week, the Yagami Kai, a Yakuza family, came knocking.
Pay your debt,
they said. Kaito had borrowed in both our names before he disappeared, 9 months ago now. He was my boyfriend for 3 years, charming, ambitious, always talking about our future together. He said it was temporary, that he just needed help getting things started. He promised to find work overseas, to build a new life for us, to come back and fix everything. But all he left behind was debt in both our names and an empty bank account. And then he vanished. They took everything I had left, and now I was alone. Again. I grabbed my essentials, clothes, documents, the few things that still felt like mine. The landlord caught me as I was walking out.
You're finally leaving, huh? Took you long enough.
I just needed 1 more week, he scoffed.
You've had months. You think I'm running a charity? Out. Now.
So I walked. No destination. Just the weight of everything pressing on my shoulders. I thought about Kaito, how he'd left, the mistakes I'd made, the signs I ignored. I kept asking myself what I could have done differently, where I went wrong. My feet moved on their own, through streets that blurred around the edges. And then it started to rain. Of course it had to rain. My fingers tightened around the strap of my bag as I stood in the middle of the sidewalk, drenched, cold, and completely directionless. The eviction notice was still fresh in my coat pocket. All my clothes were stuffed in this bag. My last paycheck had gone straight to the Yagami Kai, and they still wanted more. I kept walking, 1 foot in front of the other. No destination, just away. My phone battery had died hours ago. Not that anyone was going to call. Kaito wouldn't. He hadn't in months. I wasn't even sure if he was alive. And if he was, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. A car passed by, slow, sleek, black. I kept my eyes down. I must have looked like a ghost. Wet hair, pale skin, hollow eyes. Just a girl who made 1 too many bad choices. Then the car stopped. I heard a voice call my name. I froze.
Can we go out today? Just the two of us. Please? Papa? Just for a little.
I stared down at him. He rarely asked for anything. He had toys, books, his favorite meals. But this was different. Where do you want to go?
The bookstore. And ice cream. Maybe the park?
I sighed. I had calls to return, people to meet. But then he looked up at me with those wide eyes. Fine, just for a while. He beamed.
Yes.
We spent the afternoon walking through quiet shops. He pointed at comics and candy. He laughed like he hadn't in weeks. And for a moment, I forgot everything else. But on the drive home, the sky turned dark. Rain, heavy, sudden. My driver slowed as visibility dropped. Then Haru pressed his face to the window.
Stop the car!
I looked up. What is it?
It's her. It's Miss Emmy.
I leaned forward. There she was, standing on the sidewalk in the downpour, soaked to the bone, clutching a single bag like it held her whole life. It probably did.
Stop! Stop the car!
I hesitated. She was just a nanny, hired help, temporary.
Papa, please! She's all wet. She's gonna get sick.
Pull over, I said quietly.
Miss Emmy!
The door opened before I could react, and there he was, Makoto Ayanami, towering, immaculate, intimidating, holding an umbrella over his head, face expressionless. He didn't speak. Haru leaned out the window.
Miss Emmy, get in, please!
The cold gnawed at my bones, stealing the last bit of feeling from my fingertips. I shook my head, forcing the words out. No, I can't. I should have said it and meant it. I should have walked away. But then Makoto stepped closer, opened the door wider, and said nothing. His silence thunderous, the kind of silence that wasn't asking, it was deciding. He wasn't offering, he was ordering. And I was too tired, too cold, too broken to resist. So I got in. The drive was silent, uncomfortably so, the kind of silence that filled every inch of the car and made the rain on the windows sound louder. Haru tried to ask me what had happened. He was gentle, curious, in the innocent way a 5-year-old is.
Miss Emmy, why were you out there? Are you okay?
I nodded, giving him the smallest smile I could manage. I'm fine, sweetheart, just a little tired. I didn't give details. I couldn't. I didn't want to burden him with things a child should never have to worry about. Rent, debt, betrayal, they didn't belong in his world. So I kept my eyes on the road, my hands in my lap, and let the silence swallow the truth I wasn't ready to share.
The ride back was quiet, uncomfortably so. I could hear Haru chatting softly to her in the back seat, asking if she was okay, where she'd been, but I didn't pay attention to the words. My focus was elsewhere. How did my son's nanny end up in this situation? Well, I already knew the answer. The envelope sticking outside of her purse, the look on her face. But knowing didn't mean I understood. She was a grown woman with a high-paying job, far more than what nannies typically earned. How did she let it get this far? Still, I didn't ask, not while Haru was listening. I wasn't going to shatter whatever image he had of her. He admired her, trusted her, loved her even, and I wouldn't take that away from him. So I waited until we got home. As soon as we stepped inside, I crouched down to Haru's level. "Go up to your room, Haru. I need to talk to Miss Emmy." He looked up at me, uncertain.
Is she in trouble?
"No, I just need to talk to her. Grown-up stuff." He nodded slowly and ran up the stairs, glancing back once before disappearing. Then I turned to her. She didn't look at me. She just held onto her bag like it was the only thing keeping her together. I walked over and sat down in the armchair across from her in silence. "You've been evicted." She flinched.
Yes.
"Why didn't you say something?" Her voice was barely above a whisper.
Because this is not your problem.
That answer annoyed me more than I expected. You work in my house. You take care of my son. Everything about you is my problem. She looked at me then. Wet lashes, tired eyes, angry maybe, or ashamed.
You don't even know me.
That part was, well, true.
They gave me a guest room, a warm bed, dinner. Haru made me promise I'd read him a story before bed. Makoto didn't say another word after the small conversation. He disappeared into his office, like always. I should have thanked him. I wanted to, but I was afraid I might cry if I did. I was embarrassed, humiliated even, being helped by my boss, and worse, by the child I was supposed to be taking care of. It felt like I'd failed completely, but I had nowhere else to go, no other option. So I swallowed my pride and accepted the help. I knew there'd be a price. There always is, especially with a man like Makoto Ayanami. But right now, it was the only path left open to me, so I stayed quiet.
After the conversation with Emmy, I realized just how little I actually knew about the woman taking care of my son. That wasn't acceptable. So, after Haru went to bed, I ran a background check. Fast, thorough. Her debt was real, registered in both her name and her ex-boyfriend's. Yakuza territory. Not a small mistake, a dangerous one. She was in deeper than I thought. I had options now. The better one, the safer one, was to give her a severance, cut ties clean, and send her far away, out of the city, away from Haru, away from any risk. If they came for her again, and she was still under my roof, it wouldn't just be her they'd put in danger. It would be my son. If she owed the Yagami Kai, they'd come for her. And if she stayed in my house, they'd come here. That wasn't acceptable. But then, right at that moment, a little figure appeared in my office, Haru. He walked in quietly, rubbing his eyes with clenched fists, and made his way to my desk. He looked up at me, uncertain, hesitant.
Papa, are you going to change my nanny?
Maybe. His face twisted in panic, and his small hands gripped the edge of my desk.
Please don't! Please let her stay. I don't want another nanny.
That stopped me cold. His eyes were wide with fear, and I could see the sincerity in every word. He'd never begged for anything like this before. I should have let her go. I knew I wouldn't. I should have. It would have been the logical choice, the safest. But when I saw Haru, desperate, begging for her to stay, I just couldn't do it. Haru never got along with the nannies before her. Most of them ignored him, too focused on trying to get my attention. But Emmy was different. She always knew her place. She ignored me just as much as I ignored her. And every conversation we'd had up until now had been about Haru or about her work. Nothing personal, nothing complicated. Maybe that's why she lasted longer than the others. That's why Haru trusted her. That's why I hesitated. I clenched my jaw, already feeling the regret forming, but the decision had been made. Damn it all. I stood up, walked around the desk, and scooped Haru gently into my arms. He rested his head on my shoulder, still sniffling a little.
Is Miss Emmy going to be fired?
No, she's not, I said firmly, smoothing his hair with one hand as I carried him up to his room. He needed to hear it. He needed to feel safe. Once he was tucked in, I sat beside him until his eyes finally fluttered closed. Only then did I quietly leave the room, closing the door behind me. I turned to one of the staff waiting outside the hallway.
Go to the guest room. Ask Miss Amy to come to my office. I need to speak with her again.
The man nodded and disappeared down the corridor. I returned to my desk, sat down, and waited.